Bitcoin is now compressing in a very important pattern. And while this is happening, we are seeing that the Bitcoin 3-day death cross is almost happening right now. And on today's update video, obviously, I will be breaking down what this means for the Bitcoin price action right here. I'm gonna talk about the imminent short term, the most important trend lines to be watching as of for now on, the most important consolidation phase. I will be going over what I am going to be doing next year with my upcoming trades. And of course, how I am personally approaching the market right now with a low risk perspective. So this and so much more will be getting discussed on today's update video. So don't forget to once again slap on that like button back above 1,000 likes. It will be highly appreciated. And with that being said, let me jump straight away in today's update video. So first of all, I quickly want to talk about the yesterday Bitcoin ETF flows, because yesterday, well, it was quite a normal and consolidation day on the Bitcoin price action. We did saw an inflow of about $250 million again on the Bitcoin spot ETF. So there's been a lot of aggressive buying on Bitcoin yesterday from these spot ETF issuers. But ultimately, if I'm looking at Bitcoin, we are still seeing that we're trading in somewhat of this lower high structure together with lower low. So ultimately, Bitcoin is still trending downwards, and how I am personally approaching it is that we're currently still seeing Bitcoin creating somewhat of this symmetrical triangle. And the moment this symmetrical triangle is going to be seeing a clear breakout is, of course, the next direction for Bitcoin. And how I really approach the Bitcoin price action right now is more also like this bigger consolidation phase. And I would be really say that the moment Bitcoin is going to be crushing above that 72.5K, it could see a continuation higher, but ultimately we're still trading in this range. We've been already trading in for the entire month of February already. So this is the range I'm currently looking at. And in my opinion, the top side of the range is usually a point where Bitcoin usually tends to see rejection. So even though we break above the downward sloping resistance line, I do think it's going to be likely that we're going to be moving towards the top side of the range here. And in case that happens, this is going to be the resistance to be watching. But of course, on the imminent short term, we need to see a break above this high here. And the reason why I currently am not long yet here, since I think that still it is very likely that Bitcoin is still actually going to come towards that $61,000 to $56,000 region where my entries are laying. Even though we've seen a very strong bounce on Bitcoin, and I do think also, if we're looking at the seasonality, that March could be a very strong month for Bitcoin. I still do believe I am still going to be waiting to enter the swing trade position, because if you're scalping, it is different. But this trade I am currently looking for is to really catch a big move towards the upside. And I personally do not really think that the risk to reward is right now there to open up a long position right here. So that is why I'm still waiting for my favorable positions. And with my last trade, I made $125,000 in profit, which was also a trade I showed here on the channel step by step, and which you also had the opportunity to copy trade. So if you maybe feel like copy trading me on my next trade right here, you do currently have the opportunity to do so on WeX. So yeah, if you're also looking for a great exchange, WeX is the exchange I personally use here. And if you sign up an account using the first link below, you will be getting a 25% fee rebate, which makes this one of the cheapest exchanges to operate from. And also, if you want to be copy trading me, you need to be joining the VP Telegram group, where also multiple trading setups are shared, and of course, more trading ideas as well. So super valuable to join it over there. So check it out in the links in today's video description. Further on, I do want to be talking about today's sponsor, which is Limitless. And Limitless is currently running a 120,000 OP price pool, which is of course quite insane here. And for the next 6 weeks, traders that are going to compete in their pre-TGE market, which is a prediction market for token generation events there. So for example, you could be predicting whether the Poly Markets coin is going to be launching before February 28th, which is of course a very small chance here, which is tomorrow, of course. But anyone who's going to be participating in these pre-TGE launches, which are quite interesting and quite nice to be trading on, and that is also really their unique selling point from Limitless. Anyone who is going to be participating in these events here, guys, the more volume you do here, the higher the rewards you're basically going to get here. So the more volume you make, the higher rewards you are going to get, depending also on the other competitors that are also generating volume. So it is super valuable So this is going to be something that is going to be laying around here for the next 6 weeks here. And there are some very important eligibility rules. So I will leave also this article on X in today's video description so you can read through it yourself very carefully, but it's definitely something to be checking out here, especially if you maybe some very safe or very certain predictions. It is actually easy to achieve this volume as well here. So I will leave this in today's video description so you can check it out yourself here, but let me continue further on in today's video. So if I'm really looking at Bitcoin, I know we are getting quite a strong bounce here. And of course, if we're right now looking at the 3-day time frame, we are right now starting to see a death cross. And in yesterday's video, I discussed this more in depth already, of course, but we are currently seeing that every single time Bitcoin does create this death cross on the 3-day time frame, just exactly 1 month later, so about 31 days later, we tend to see the Bitcoin create a cycle bottom. And of course, in 2022, it wasn't necessarily exact bottom, but it was, of course, the beginning of a bottom formation on Bitcoin. So that was obviously very interesting to be seeing. But of course, I do think something similar could be once again playing out there. So I am going to obviously keep everyone up to date on the channel about that here. And really, where I personally think the chances of a bottom could be extremely high is around the golden pocket entry on the Fibonacci, which I set up from the bear market low to the bull market top here, which is trading around $57,000 to about $54,000. That is one of the levels I'm currently looking at. If I'm looking at the imminent short term, I personally am currently seeing a major bearish divergence getting created. And obviously, what I would like to see here in a Bitcoin bottom is that Bitcoin just takes another dump lower, see the open interest decline even further, and then, of course, create a major bullish divergence. That is what I would like to see for a Bitcoin bottom. And then I'm going to be stepping in quite aggressively. So I personally am not necessarily convinced this is a long-term bottom formation. And of course, we could still see Bitcoin come down ever so slightly lower before ultimately seeing that bounce higher. And I'm not saying we're going to go crash down to $40,000. No, I do only think it's going to be a slight dump lower here to fill up this wick here before moving higher. And also looking at the liquidation heat map, there is, of course, a possibility that we're first going to grab the top side liquidity all the way to about $72,000, which is exactly the top side of this region right here. So there are multiple possibilities, multiple scenarios, which could be playing out in the coming next week here. But Bitcoin ultimately is right now in this bigger consolidation phase around the big volume support zone, where I obviously have been talking about many times here. I was talking about this bear flag, and I said the target where Bitcoin is going to be bottoming is this zone right here. Why? Is because here it's super easy. It's just a lot of volume support here. And here there was almost no volume support. So that was, of course, something I said back then, and I will still say the same here. I do think Bitcoin is going to be bottoming between $54,000 and $71,000. That is what I personally think here. So also, if I'm going to be looking at multiple other indicators like the Pi cycle bottom indicator, this one, for example, is not really predicting a bottom to be happening anytime soon here, maybe in about a year from now on. So yeah, it could potentially still take quite a while here, but ultimately, Bitcoin bear markets do often take like a year or so. So we do need to be patient. Then yesterday also, we saw once again some strong inflows on Ethereum ETF. And ultimately, if I'm looking at the Ethereum price action, this is once again also a similar range like Bitcoin. And truly, whenever we're going to be retesting this top side again here, I do expect this is going to be acting as major resistance. And the moment we're going to be able to be breaking above this range here is where the big continuation is going to be happening. So I'm going to be looking at this consolidation phase next year. And of course, ultimately, we are in this massive monthly consolidation phase. And I do think that Ethereum is going to be one of the big runners in the next cycle, since you only have to look at this chart and see clearly that we are in a big compression, big consolidation phase, which is ultimately eventually going to be breaking out here. So yeah, I am personally still betting quite aggressively on Ethereum for the next cycle. And that was it for me in today's update video, guys. If you did learn something from this video, subscribe to the channel, slap on the like button, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out. Goodbye.